Position is power. Where you stand determines what you see, what you strike, and what strikes you. A wise general does not wait for battle to begin before preparing. He positions himself where advantage is inevitable. In life, as in war, success favors those who master placement of their energy, their effort, their mind. Most wander aimlessly, reacting to life. But the victor selects his ground. He anticipates. He adapts. He controls not only where he stands, but who he becomes. The art of success begins with the art of positioning. Subscribe to our channel. If you're ready to master your mind, and tell us, where are you watching from? Chapter 1. Position is power. The ancient art of warfare, I observed a truth that extends far beyond the battlefield. Position determines destiny. This is not merely about physical location, it is about the totality of your stance in life. What you will achieve, what opportunities will flow to you, what battles you must fight, all are determined by where you stand. Consider the mountain stream. Why does it flow with such force? Not because of its volume, but because of its position. Elevation gives it power. The same water placed in a valley becomes stagnant. This is the first principle you must understand. Your position multiplies or diminishes every resource you possess. Most people focus on gathering strength, more knowledge, more resources, more connections, but they neglect the fundamental law. Power flows from position. A soldier with superior weapons but poor positioning will fall to a weaker opponent who commands the high ground. An entrepreneur with brilliant ideas but poor market positioning will watch lesser innovations capture the wealth they deserve. You see this play out every day in every arena of life. The professional who positions themselves as the solution to tomorrow's problems, not yesterday's challenges. The leader who positions themselves as indispensable before others recognize the need. The investor who positions their capital at the intersection of emerging trends. They understand position precedes power. This is why most struggle despite their efforts. They exhaust themselves fighting upstream when they should be questioning their starting position. They compete in overcrowded spaces when they should be creating their own ground. They chase opportunities others can see instead of positioning themselves where opportunities will naturally flow. Here is what most fail to grasp. Position is not just physical, it is mental, it is social, it is strategic. The position you take in your mind determines what opportunities you can see. The position you hold in your network determines what resources flow to you. The position you establish in your industry determines your value. The master strategist knows it is better to control a critical checkpoint than to possess a vast territory of little value. It is better to hold the high ground than to command a large but vulnerable force on the plains. Position multiplies power. Position transforms weakness into strength. Consider the game of chess. Why does a pawn reaching the opposite end of the board become a queen? Not because it gathered more resources, but because it reached a position of power. The same piece, through strategic positioning, becomes exponentially more valuable. Ask yourself, where do you stand in the marketplace of life? Are you positioned where opportunity flows naturally to you, or are you constantly swimming against the current? Are you positioned to intercept the future, or are you defending ground that time has already abandoned? Remember, the wise general does not wish for more soldiers, he wishes for better ground. The skilled merchant does not pray for more goods, he seeks the critical position in the market. The cunning diplomat does not demand more power. He maneuvers to where influence naturally accumulates. Your first task, then, is not to gather more. It is to position what you already have where it can be most effective. This is the beginning of strategic wisdom. This is the foundation of power. This is the art of positioning that separates the master strategist from the common warrior. Chapter 2. Know the terrain of your life. Supreme excellence in strategy begins with understanding the ground beneath your feet. Yet, how many of you truly know the terrain of your own life? The skilled commander studies every hill, every valley, every path before the battle begins. He knows where the ground is firm and where it will give way. He understands where the shadows fall and where the light reveals. This knowledge is his armor, his weapon, his victory before the first arrow flies. Your life has terrain. Your habits are its valleys, deep carved channels that direct the flow of your energy. Your beliefs are its mountains, immovable masses that shape your view of what is possible. Your relationships are its rivers, networks that can either nourish or drown you. Your skills are its forests, resources that can either shelter you or limit your vision, but most walk blindly through their own territory. They stumble into swamps of distraction. They crash against cliffs of limitation they never saw coming. They waste precious resources trying to build on ground that cannot support their ambitions. They march their armies through valleys where ambush is inevitable. Here is what you must understand. Every environment has its laws. The desert demands different tactics than the forest. The marketplace demands different strategies than the battlefield. The path to leadership demands different positioning than the path to innovation. Your terrain dictates your options, but only if you let it. Study your surroundings with the eye of a general. Where are your supply lines, the sources of your energy, inspiration, and support? Are they secure? Are they sufficient? Can they be disrupted by your enemies? Where are your vulnerabilities, the habits, beliefs, or relationships that leave you exposed? What defenses have you built? What weaknesses must be fortified? Where are your strongholds, the unique combinations of skills and knowledge that only you command? How can they be leveraged? How can they be expanded? Where are your escape routes, the options you can pursue if your primary position becomes untenable? What alternatives have you prepared? What bridges have you built? The amateur sees only what is. The master strategist sees what could be. Every limitation in your terrain is an opportunity to build a bridge, dig a tunnel, or chart a new path. Every obstacle is a chance to create an advantage that others cannot easily copy. But you can't transform what you do not understand. You cannot fortify what you cannot see. This is why self-knowledge is not mere philosophy. It is strategic imperative. The general who does not know his terrain will be defeated by it before the enemy ever arrives. Map your mental terrain. What thoughts dominate your inner landscape? What emotional weather patterns shape your decisions? What hidden beliefs have become treacherous ground beneath your feet? What mental habits have become ruts that trap you in predictable patterns? Map your social terrain. Who stands on the high ground of influence in your network? Where are the valleys of support? Where are the dangerous cliffs of toxic relationships? What alliances could be formed? What bridges need to be built or burned? Map your professional terrain. What skills form your natural defenses? What knowledge gives you commanding views of opportunity? What gaps in your position leave you vulnerable to disruption? What territories must you claim before others recognize their value? Remember, the terrain of your life is not fixed. It can be reshaped, reformed, reconstructed. But first, you must know it as intimately as a farmer knows his fields, as thoroughly as a general knows his battleground. This knowledge is not static. It must be constantly updated, constantly refined. This is not a task for a single day. It is a continuous practice of observation, analysis, and adjustment. For the terrain of life is always shifting, always evolving. The map you made yesterday may not serve you tomorrow. The positions that brought you victory in the past may become vulnerabilities in the future. Chapter 3. Clarity before movement. The greatest victory is that which requires no battle, and the surest path to such victory is perfect clarity before the first step is taken. Yet observe how the masses move. They rush forward without direction, chase objectives without understanding, expend energy without purpose. They mistake motion for progress, activity for achievement. This is the way of defeat. Consider the archer. Does he release his arrow before identifying his target? Does he shoot without accounting for the wind, the distance, the movement of his quarry? Such impulsive action would make him not a warrior, but a fool. The same principle governs all endeavors in life. Clarity is not just an advantage, it is the foundation of all strategy. Without clarity, every step forward is a step into darkness. Every action is a gamble. Every decision is contaminated by doubt. Every resource spent is potentially wasted. This is why armies are destroyed, businesses fail, and careers crumble, not from lack of effort, but from lack of clarity. But what is clarity? It is not mere knowledge. It is not simple understanding. True strategic clarity is threefold. First, clarity of vision. You must see not just what is, but what could be. Not just the obvious path, but all possible paths. Not just your next move, but the entire sequence of moves that leads to victory. This requires you to step back from the chaos of daily battle, to rise above the fog of immediate concerns, to see the entire battlefield of your life from a commander's elevation. Most people live in the valley of tactical thinking, consumed by immediate challenges. The strategic master climbs the mountain of perspective, where patterns become visible and possibilities reveal themselves. From this height, what seems like chaos below arranges itself into clear lines of opportunity and threat. Second, clarity of purpose. Why do you move? What victory do you truly seek? Is it yours, or is it borrowed from the expectations of others? A soldier who fights for a cause he does not understand is already defeated. Many waste years pursuing goals they have never deeply questioned. They climb ladders only to find them leaning against the wrong wall. They conquer territory they do not truly want to hold. Your purpose must be as clear as a mountain stream, as solid as bedrock. It must withstand the storms of doubt, the winds of opposition, the floods of distraction. Without this clarity of purpose, every victory is hollow, every achievement temporary. Third, clarity of method. How will you move? What resources will you require? What obstacles must you overcome? What price must you pay? The general who cannot answer these questions clearly has already lost the campaign. This is where most strategies fail. They are built on hopes rather than hard analysis. They ignore the cost of victory. They underestimate the strength of resistance. They assume resources that do not exist. But here is what the masses do not understand. Clarity is not passive. It is not waiting for perfect knowledge. It is active investigation. It is ruthless questioning. It is constant refinement of understanding. It is the discipline of seeing things as they are, not as you wish them to be. Ask yourself, what am I not seeing? What assumptions am I not challenging? What questions am I afraid to ask? What truth am I avoiding? The answer to these questions is often uncomfortable, but comfort is the enemy of clarity. Growth demands that we face what we wish to ignore. Remember, time spent in reconnaissance is never wasted. The pause before action is not delay, it is preparation. The moment of clarity before movement is not hesitation. It is the foundation of victory. Let others rush blindly forward. You will move only when your vision is clear, your purpose is certain, and your method is sound. This is the way of the strategic master. Chapter 4. Choose the ground of conflict. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. But first, you must master a more subtle art, choosing which battles to engage in at all. The novice. Warrior rushes to every conflict. The master selects only those battles where victory is already half won by the ground he stands upon. Look at how the tiger hunts. Does it chase every prey it sees? No, it selects the ground, it waits. It positions itself where its strengths will be maximized and its prey's advantages will be neutralized. This is not cowardice, it is strategy. This is not hesitation, it is the essence of power. In your life, every challenge is a potential battlefield. Every opportunity is ground that could be contested. But not all ground is equal. Not all battles serve your ultimate victory. The masses fail to understand this essential truth. They fight every battle presented to them, defend every position. Challenged, chase every opportunity dangled before them. Consider, why do so many fail in their pursuits? They fight battles they cannot win. They engage on ground that negates their strengths. They accept every challenge, respond to every provocation, chase every opportunity, and in doing so, scatter their forces until they are too weak to win. What matters? Here is the wisdom most never grasp. The battles you choose not to fight are as important as those you do. Every no is a reinforcement of your chosen position. Every declined engagement is energy preserved for crucial conflicts. Every battle avoided is resources saved for decisive moments. The master strategist thinks differently about conflict. He does not seek to win every battle. He seeks to make every battle winnable before it begins. He chooses ground where his strengths become decisive advantages. His weaknesses become irrelevant. His resources can be efficiently deployed. His victory can be converted into lasting gain. His position improves regardless of the immediate outcome. Consider the merchant who succeeds while others fail. Does he compete in every market? No. He selects battlegrounds where his unique advantages become insurmountable. The scholar who advances while others stagnate. Does she engage in every debate? No. She chooses fields where her knowledge creates unassailable positions. Your resources are finite. Your energy has limits. Your time cannot be recovered once spent. Therefore, every engagement must be evaluated with cold strategic calculation. Does this battle align with your ultimate objective? Can you bring your full strength to bear? Is the ground favorable to your style of warfare? Will victory here open paths to greater conquests? Can you sustain the campaign to its conclusion? Will the cost of victory leave you stronger or weaker? Remember the principle of strategic concentration. Power gathered and focused on crucial points is more effective than power dispersed across many fronts. The general who divides his forces to defend every point ends up strong nowhere. The leader who tries to excel in every arena masters none. Your task is not to fight every battle well, but to choose your battles wisely, not to be ready for every opportunity, but to be positioned for the right opportunities, not to defend every position, but to hold ground that matters. Study the terrain before you commit. Analyze the forces in play before you engage. Calculate the true cost of victory before you advance. And when you find ground that favors your strengths, that aligns with your objectives, that promises strategic advantage, then commit with full force. Strike with all your power. Fight with absolute conviction, for on chosen ground, even a smaller force can triumph. On selected terrain, even limited resources can yield decisive results. In strategic positions, even modest advantages can be leveraged into overwhelming victory. Chapter 5. The Enemy. Within, know your enemy and know yourself, and in 100 battles you will never be defeated. But here is the deeper truth. Your most dangerous enemy resides within your own mind. External obstacles can be measured, analyzed, and outmaneuvered. But internal enemies, doubt, fear, distraction, these are the forces that defeat most warriors before they ever step onto the battlefield. Consider how many armies have been routed not by superior force, but by the phantom of fear. How many campaigns have failed not from lack of resources, but from lack of resolve? How many warriors have fallen not to the enemy's blade, but to their own hesitation? The untrained mind is a fortress with gates left open, vulnerable to invasion from within. Through these unguarded gates, your enemies slip in unnoticed. Self-doubt whispers strategies of retreat when advance is needed. Fear distorts your assessment of strength, making giants of shadows. Distraction divides your forces when unity is crucial. Impatience rushes you into ambush when waiting would bring victory. Pride blinds you to weakness until it is too late to fortify. Anger clouds your judgment. When clarity is most needed, greed leads you to overextend your position. Anxiety paralyzes your decision-making abilities. Attachment to past victories prevents necessary adaptation, but here is what separates the master strategist from the amateur. They know these inner enemies are not to be destroyed, but to be understood and redirected. Every internal force that can defeat you can also be transformed into a source of power. Fear, properly channeled, becomes heightened awareness, a radar system detecting threats before they materialize. Doubt, properly used, becomes strategic caution, a shield against reckless action. Even anger, when mastered, becomes fuel for decisive action, a force multiplier when precision is required. This is why the warrior's first battlefield is always internal. Before you can command armies, you must command yourself. Before you can conquer territory, you must conquer your own mind. Before you can defeat external enemies, you must master internal forces. The path to this mastery is simple, but few have the discipline to walk it. Observe your thoughts as a general observes troop movements. Identify the patterns of defeat in your thinking. Establish strict protocols for mental discipline. Train your mind daily in the art of focused power. Replace random reaction with strategic response. Convert emotional energy into tactical advantage. Transform mental obstacles into strategic assets. Most seek external solutions to internal problems. They blame circumstances for failures that originate in their own minds. They seek more resources when what they need is better mental positioning. They pursue new strategies when what they require is stronger mental discipline. Here is the wisdom that changes everything. Your mind is not just a battlefield, it is the force that shapes all battlefields. It is not just another territory to be conquered. It is the headquarters from which all campaigns are directed. It is not just one of many factors in victory. It is the foundation of all victory. The untamed mind is like a city with no walls. No governor, no garrison. It is vulnerable to every invading thought, every passing emotion, every temporary urge. The disciplined mind is like a fortress, secure, ordered, powerful. It converts chaos into strategy, emotion into energy, challenge into opportunity. Remember, external enemies can only defeat you if internal enemies have already weakened your position. Secure the fortress of your mind, and no external force can shake your stance. Master your internal battlefield, and every external battle becomes an opportunity for victory. Chapter 6. Prepare in silence, strike in certainty. The loudest thunder comes from empty clouds. True power moves in silence. While others announce their intentions, the wise general prepares without fanfare, positions without proclamation, strengthens without show. This is the art of silent preparation, the foundation of all decisive victory. Consider, why do so many fail to achieve their ambitions? They speak of their plans before they are ready. They celebrate victories before they are won. They reveal their strength before the moment of advantage. They mistake talking about achievement for the work of achieving. The world is full of warriors who fight with their tongues while their skills rust in neglect. The strategic master understands preparation is the silent phase of victory. It is the time of building, of learning, of gathering resources. It is the space where advantages are created, where weaknesses are eliminated, where power is accumulated. Like the tiger in tall grass, your presence should be felt before it is seen. Your power should be discovered through its effects, not through your declarations. But most cannot bear the silence. They crave the recognition of action before the foundation of preparation is complete. They seek applause for intentions rather than results. They want the crown before they have built the kingdom. This impatience, this need for premature validation, is the seed of defeat. Here is what the masses do not grasp. Every great victory is won in the quiet hours, in the pre-dawn training when no one is watching, in the late-night planning when others sleep, in the methodical gathering of intelligence that others neglect, in the patient building of capabilities that others rush past. The principle of silent preparation manifests in many forms. the warrior who trains when others rest, the scholar who studies while others celebrate, the leader who builds foundations, while others build facades, the strategist who gathers intelligence while others gather praise, the innovator who solves problems while others discuss solutions. This silence is not passive. It is not the absence of action, but the concentration of it. It is the compression of power before release. Like the drawn bow before the arrow flies, like the gathered wave before it breaks, like the coiled spring before it unleashes. Silence is the accumulation of force. Consider the bamboo. For 4 years it grows beneath the ground, invisible to all. Its roots spread, strengthen, prepare. Then, in the 5th year, it grows 90 feet in 6 weeks. The ignorant look at those 6 weeks and marvel at the speed. The wise understand that it was the 4 years of silent preparation that made such growth possible. Your preparation should be thorough but invisible, constant but quiet, progressive but patient, comprehensive but concealed, methodical but flexible, focused but adaptable. When you strike, it should be with the accumulated force of all your silent preparation. When you move, it should be with the absolute certainty that comes from thorough groundwork. When you emerge, it should be like the mountain appearing from the mist, fully formed, immovable, inevitable. Remember, the time of preparation is not a waiting period. It is the forging of your blade. The silence is not inaction. It is the gathering of force. When others speak of what they will do, focus on becoming what you must be. Let your results echo louder than your words. Let your achievements speak of the preparation that preceded them. For in the end, it is not the loudest voice that prevails, but the most prepared position, not the grandest plans, but the most thoroughly executed strategy, not the boldest claims, but the most decisive actions. Prepare in silence, and your success will make the noise. Chapter 7. Adapt like water. Nothing in the universe is more adaptable than water. It takes the shape of whatever contains it, moves through any opening it finds, and yet maintains its essential nature unchanged. In this lies the deepest wisdom of strategy. Rigidity leads to collapse, while adaptability ensures survival. Consider how water conquers all obstacles. It does not fight the rock. It flows around it. It does not challenge the mountain. It carves through it over time. It does not resist the vessel. It assumes its form while remaining true to its nature. Water teaches us that true power lies not in opposing force with force, but in adapting to circumstances while maintaining our core purpose. Most fail because they become rigid in their methods, fixed in their thinking, unchangeable in their approach. They develop one strategy and cling to it even as the battlefield changes. They master one technique and try to apply it to every situation. They establish one position and defend it even when the ground beneath them shifts. This is the path of defeat. The general who fights today's battle with yesterday's strategy will find himself outmaneuvered. The leader who addresses new challenges with old solutions will find herself obsolete. The warrior who cannot adapt his stance to new terrain will find himself vulnerable. But here is what the strategic master understands. Adaptation is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. It is not surrender. It is strategic positioning. It is not loss of identity. It is the ultimate expression of it. Like water, you must learn to flow around obstacles rather than break against them. Find paths of least resistance while maintaining momentum. Transform barriers into channels for your advance. Adapt your form while preserving your essence. Turn opposition into opportunity through strategic yielding. Combine with other forces when beneficial. Separate when unity becomes limitation. The principle of adaptation manifests in many forms. In strategy, changing tactics while maintaining objectives. In leadership, adjusting style while preserving vision. In combat, modifying technique while retaining effectiveness. In business, transforming methods while keeping core values. In personal growth, evolving approach while staying true to purpose, but adaptation must be guided by wisdom. Not every change is beneficial. Not every new path leads to victory. The key is to distinguish between essential nature and temporary form. Your methods may change, but your principles remain. Your tactics may shift, but your strategy endures. Your position may move, but your purpose stands firm. Consider the successful general. He does not command all his forces the same way. He adapts his orders to the nature of each unit, the demands of each situation, the character of each battlefield. Yet his ultimate objective never wavers. His strategic vision remains clear, even as his tactical approach evolves. This is the paradox of adaptability. The more flexible you become in method, the more firmly you can hold to your purpose. The more adaptable you are in form, the more unshakable you become, in essence. Like water, which can be vapor or ice, yet remains H2O, your adaptability becomes your strength. Remember, the oak tree that cannot bend in the storm will break, while the bamboo that bends will survive to rise again. The army that cannot adapt, its formation will be outflanked, while the force that can reshape itself will find advantage in any terrain. The leader who cannot modify their approach will become irrelevant, while the one who can evolve will remain effective. Be like water. Flow around obstacles. Adapt to circumstances. Find new paths forward, but always maintain your essential nature, your core purpose, your strategic direction. For in this balance between adaptability and consistency lies the secret of enduring success. Chapter 8. Disguise your strengths. All warfare is based on deception. The wise general knows that what is seen determines what is shown, and what is hidden creates the opportunity for decisive action. Here lies a profound truth. Your greatest strength becomes even more powerful when others do not see it coming. Consider the snake in the grass. Does it announce its presence? Does it reveal its striking capability? No. It remains still, appears harmless, waits for the perfect moment. Its power lies not just in its venom, but in the surprise of its strike. This is the art of disguising. Strength not to deceive for deception's sake, but to maximize the effectiveness of your power. Most fail in this art because they cannot resist the urge to display their capabilities. They showcase their strengths prematurely. They reveal their advantages before the crucial moment. Their ego demands recognition, and in satisfying it, they sacrifice strategic advantage. The world is full of warriors who have been defeated, not because they were weak, but because they were too eager to appear strong. Here is the wisdom most never grasp. To be underestimated is a weapon. To be overlooked is an advantage. To be dismissed by your opponents is to be given the gift of surprise. The strategic master understands this and cultivates these opportunities deliberately. They mask capability beneath apparent simplicity. They hide complexity behind seeming straightforwardness. They conceal power within apparent weakness. They disguise preparation behind casual appearance. They shield innovation behind traditional facades. They protect strategic depth beneath tactical simplicity, but this art goes beyond mere concealment. It is about strategic misdirection. When you are strong, appear weak. When you are ready, appear unprepared. When you are skilled, appear amateur. When you are certain, appear unsure. When you are near, appear far. When you are advancing, appear to retreat. Consider how this principle manifests across different domains. The business leader who understates their company's innovations until the market launch. The negotiator who conceals their best arguments until the crucial moment. The competitor who masks their true capabilities until the decisive round. The strategist who hides their real objective behind apparent goals. The innovator who disguises breakthrough ideas as incremental improvements. But remember, this is not about deception for its own sake. It is about strategic positioning. It is about maximizing the impact of your strengths by controlling when and how they are revealed. It is about creating the conditions for decisive action. The principle extends beyond individual strengths to entire strategies. Hide your ultimate objective behind immediate goals. Conceal your true timeline behind apparent deadlines. Mask your strategic preparations behind tactical movements. Shield your innovative methods behind conventional approaches. Protect your competitive advantages. Behind industry standards, this requires discipline. It demands the ability to resist the urge to prove yourself prematurely. Control the ego's desire for recognition. Wait for the right moment to reveal capability. Maintain patience when others underestimate you. Stay focused on long-term advantage over short-term validation. Remember, the thunderbolt is most effective because it appears from a clear sky. The avalanche is most devastating because it breaks from apparent stability. Your strength will have its greatest impact when it emerges unexpectedly. Let others broadcast their powers. Let them showcase their capabilities. Let them announce their intentions. You will understand that true power lies not just in having strength, but in controlling how and when it is revealed. For in the art of war and in the game of life, the element of surprise multiplies the effect of every advantage. Chapter 9. Build strong alliances. Even the mightiest army cannot conquer alone. Even the strongest general needs loyal officers. Even the most brilliant strategy requires hands to execute it. This is the wisdom that escapes many. True power lies not just in your own strength, but in your ability to align others with your cause. Consider the Great Wall of China. Was it built by one man? Could it have been? No. It stands as a testament to the power of aligned purpose, of coordinated effort, of strategic alliance. This is the principle that changes empires. The force of many moving as one multiplies power beyond mere addition. Most fail in building alliances because they think only of immediate advantage. They seek partnerships without understanding commitment. They pursue connections without building trust. They attempt to lead without earning loyalty. These are the seeds of betrayal, the roots of alliance failure. Here is what the strategic master understands about forging powerful alliances. Trust is the foundation of all lasting partnerships. Mutual benefit is the mortar that holds alliances together. Shared vision creates alignment beyond immediate goals. Loyalty must be earned before it can be expected. Strong alliances are built on strength, not need. The best partnerships multiply capabilities rather than just combining them. The art of alliance building operates on multiple levels. Strategic, combining forces for greater market impact. Operational, coordinating resources for enhanced efficiency. Tactical, supporting each other in immediate challenges. Cultural, creating synergy through shared values. Personal, building networks of mutual support. Professional, developing ecosystems of complementary skills. But remember this crucial truth. Not all potential allies are equal. The wise general chooses partnerships carefully, considering alignment of values and vision, complementarity of strengths, compatibility of methods, reliability in crisis, long-term strategic fit, mutual growth potential. The most powerful alliances are built on these foundations: clear communication of expectations, transparent sharing of objectives, fair distribution of benefits, mutual respect for capabilities, shared commitment to growth, aligned understanding of success. Consider how nature teaches this lesson: the oak tree and the fungi beneath it. Each strengthens the other, the bee and the flower. Each serves its own purpose while supporting the other. These are not mere partnerships. They are strategic alliances that have stood the test of evolutionary time. But building alliances requires wisdom in execution. Start small, but think long-term. Build trust through consistent action. Demonstrate value before expecting returns. Respect boundaries while fostering integration. Maintain independence while creating interdependence. Preserve identity while building unity. The strategic master knows when to lead and when to follow, speak and when to listen, push and when to yield demand, and when to give, stand firm, and when to adapt challenge, and when to support, remember, the strongest. Alliances are not built on need, but on strength. They are not maintained by dependency, but by choice. They are not preserved by fear, but by mutual benefit. Like a well-forged blade, they become stronger through proper tempering. Your task is not just to gather allies, but to build an ecosystem of mutual success. Not just to create partnerships, but to forge lasting bonds. Not just to combine forces, but to multiply capabilities. For in the complex battlefield of life, no one succeeds entirely alone. The art of alliance building is the art of strategic multiplication. Chapter 10. Defend your time. Like a fortress, time is the most precious resource in any campaign. Once spent, it cannot be recovered. Once wasted, it cannot be reclaimed. Yet observe how the masses treat this irreplaceable asset. They squander it on trivial battles, surrender it to every invading distraction, allow it to slip away in aimless pursuits. This is the path of strategic defeat. Consider the fortress commander. Does he leave his gates unguarded? Does he allow every traveler to enter at will? Does he permit his soldiers to abandon their posts for every passing entertainment? No. He guards his stronghold with vigilance, knowing that security depends on controlling access. Your time is your fortress. Your hours are your walls. Your minutes are your soldiers. Yet most treat time as an infinite resource, failing to understand that every moment given to one purpose is forever denied to another. They do not lose their time. They surrender it through poor strategic choices. They fail to distinguish between urgent and important. They respond to every demand as if it were a priority. They engage in battles that yield no strategic advantage. They waste resources on initiatives that don't serve their purpose. They scatter their forces across too many fronts. They neglect to establish clear boundaries around their time. The strategic master approaches time differently. They understand. Every yes is a no to something else. Every commitment is a strategic decision. Every allocation of time must serve the greater objective. Every moment spent must generate returns worth its investment. Every activity must be evaluated against strategic priorities. Every interruption has a cost beyond its immediate duration. Here is the wisdom that changes everything. Time management is not about doing more things. It is about doing the right things. It is not about speed. It is about strategic choice. It is not about efficiency. It is about effectiveness. The protection of time requires strong defensive positions, clear boundaries that others must respect, established protocols for engagement, strategic filters for opportunities, dedicated spaces for crucial work, protected periods for deep focus, regular intervals for strategic review. But defending time requires more than just barriers. It demands the courage to say no to good opportunities that aren't great, the wisdom to distinguish between activity and progress, the discipline to maintain strategic focus, the foresight to invest time rather than merely spend it, the strength to resist the tyranny of the urgent, the clarity to identify what truly matters. Consider how the master strategist allocates time. They invest heavily in preparation. They focus intensely on critical tasks. They eliminate unnecessary activities. They delegate what others can do. They automate what can be systematized. They eliminate what doesn't serve their purpose. Remember these principles of temporal warfare. The battle for time is won or lost in the morning. The strongest defense is a clear, offensive strategy. The best time management is strategic elimination. The highest leverage comes from focused concentration. The greatest waste is dignifying trivia with attention. The key to time mastery is strategic positioning. Your task is not to find more time. It is to defend what you have. Not to do more, but to do what matters. Not to move faster, but to move with strategic purpose. For in the end, it is not how much time you have, but how you position the time you have that determines your success. Guard your time like the precious resource it is. Defend it like a fortress under siege. Invest it like a strategic commander deploying his best forces, for time is the one resource that, once lost, can never be regained. In the art of strategic positioning, the master of time becomes the master of destiny. Chapter 11. Master Emotional Detachment. The greatest enemy of clear strategy is clouded judgment, and nothing clouds judgment more surely than unmastered emotion. Like a general whose decisions are swayed by anger or fear, the strategist who cannot achieve emotional detachment will fail before the battle begins. Consider the surface of a lake. When it is disturbed by wind and waves, it cannot clearly reflect the sky above or reveal the depths below. Only when it becomes still can it show things as they truly are. Your mind is this lake. Emotional turbulence distorts your perception, obscures reality, and prevents strategic clarity. Most fail in this art because they misunderstand its nature. They think emotional detachment means becoming cold, unfeeling, or inhuman. They believe they must choose between being strategic and being passionate. This is a false dichotomy that leads to strategic weakness. Here is what the master strategist understands. Emotional detachment is not the absence of emotion. It is the mastery of emotion. It is not suppression. It is elevation. It is not numbness. It is clarity, like the surgeon who must care about the patient yet remain steady during the operation. You must learn to feel deeply while thinking clearly. The art of emotional detachment manifests in many forms: in decision-making, evaluating options without emotional bias; in conflict, responding to aggression with strategic calm; in negotiation, maintaining perspective despite pressure; in failure, learning from defeats without being defeated; in success, celebrating victories without losing focus; in crisis, keeping clarity when others panic. But achieving this mastery requires systematic development. First, awareness, recognizing emotional states as they arise. Then, understanding, identifying the triggers and patterns. Next, distance, creating space between stimulus and response. Finally, mastery, using emotion as information rather than direction. The strategic benefits of emotional detachment are profound: clearer perception of reality, more accurate assessment of situations, better decision-making under pressure, stronger strategic positioning, more effective leadership, greater tactical flexibility. Consider how this principle applies across domains: the investor who buys when others panic, the leader who stays calm when teams are stressed, the negotiator who remains steady when stakes are high, the warrior who maintains focus in chaos, the innovator who persists through skepticism, the strategist who sees opportunity in crisis. But remember, emotional detachment must be balanced with emotional intelligence, understanding others' emotions while managing your own, recognizing emotional currents while staying anchored, empathizing with others while maintaining perspective, connecting authentically while preserving boundaries, leading with heart while thinking with clarity, caring deeply while judging wisely. The path to this mastery involves specific practices: regular reflection on emotional patterns, systematic analysis of triggering events, deliberate practice of response delay, consistent maintenance of strategic perspective, continuous refinement of emotional awareness, daily cultivation of mental clarity. Remember these crucial distinctions: detachment is not disconnection, clarity is not coldness, strategy is not suppression, mastery is not denial, control is not constriction, power is not rigidity. Your task is to develop the ability to feel without being, overwhelmed care without being clouded, engage without being entangled, lead without being swayed, decide without being biased, act without being reactive. For in the end, emotional mastery is not about becoming less human. It is about becoming more effective. It is not about losing your heart. It is about training your mind. It is not about suppressing feelings. It is about elevating your perspective. This is the paradox of strategic emotional detachment. The more you master your emotions, the more effectively you can use them. The more you develop detachment, the more powerfully you can engage, the more you cultivate clarity, the more deeply you can connect. Chapter 12. Focus is the blade, a dull blade, no matter how massive, cannot cut. A scattered force, no matter how large, cannot conquer. A distracted mind, no matter how brilliant, cannot achieve. This is the wisdom that transforms potential into power. Focus is the blade that cuts through any obstacle. Consider the magnifying glass in sunlight. When its focus is scattered, it produces only warmth. But when perfectly focused, it creates fire. This is the principle that separates excellence from mediocrity. The intensity of focus determines the power of impact. Most fail not from lack of ability, but from lack of concentration. The masses dissipate their power through pursuing too many objectives simultaneously, switching between tasks before completion, responding to every distraction, dividing attention across multiple priorities, attempting to master too many skills at once, scattering resources across too many projects. Here is what the strategic master understands. Focus is not just attention, it is power concentrated. It is not just concentration, it is force multiplied. It is not just discipline, it is strategic advantage weaponized. Like the laser that can cut through steel, focused effort can penetrate any barrier. The art of focus manifests in multiple dimensions: strategic focus, concentrating on crucial objectives; tactical focus, immersing in immediate tasks; mental focus, maintaining clarity of thought; temporal focus, maximizing present moment effectiveness; resource focus, concentrating assets. For maximum impact, energy focus, channeling power for precise results, but mastering focus requires understanding its components. Selection, choosing what deserves your concentration; elimination, removing what dilutes your attention; duration, maintaining. Focus for optimal periods; recovery, recharging between focused efforts; protection, defending your concentration from interruption; enhancement, strengthening your capacity for sustained focus. Consider how focus transforms various domains. In learning, deep understanding versus surface knowledge in creation; masterwork versus mediocre output; in combat, precise strike versus scattered effort; in business, market domination versus diffused presence; in innovation, breakthrough versus incremental; progress in leadership, powerful impact versus diluted influence. The strategic application of focus requires clear prioritization of objectives, ruthless elimination of distractions, strategic allocation of energy, systematic protection of attention, deliberate cultivation of concentration, regular renewal of mental sharpness. Remember these principles of focused power. Concentration creates breakthrough. Intensity enables insight. Persistence produces mastery. Attention amplifies ability. Focus forges excellence. Precision precedes power. But focus must be strategically directed. Focus on strengths rather than weaknesses. Focus on opportunities rather than obstacles. Focus on solutions rather than problems. Focus on progress rather than perfection. Focus on impact rather than activity. Focus on mastery rather than mere competence. The master strategist develops systems to identify crucial points of focus, eliminate unnecessary distractions, maintain sustained concentration, recover mental sharpness, enhance focusing power, deploy attention. Strategically, your task is not just to focus, but to focus on what matters most. Focus when it counts most. Focus where impact is greatest. Focus until breakthrough occurs. Focus with strategic purpose. Focus for transformative results. For in the end, it is not how much you do, but how focused you are in the doing. Not how many tasks you handle, but how completely you engage with the essential ones. Not how varied your efforts, but how concentrated your force. Remember, the sword that cuts through armor is not the heaviest, but the sharpest. The force that achieves victory is not the largest, but the most focused. The mind that solves problems is not the busiest, but the most concentrated. Focus is your blade. Sharpen it through practice. Protect it from damage. Deploy it with precision. For in the art of strategic positioning, the focused mind becomes the unstoppable force. Chapter 13. Choose battles that build you. Not all victories strengthen you. Not all successes serve your strategy. Not all achievements advance your position. This is the subtle wisdom that escapes most. The battles you choose must not only be winnable, they must be worth winning. They must build you even as you fight them. Consider the skilled blacksmith. Does he strike the metal randomly? Does he apply force without purpose? No. Each blow is chosen to shape the blade, to strengthen its edge, to forge it into something greater. Your battles must do the same. Each conflict should forge you into something stronger, something more capable, something more strategically positioned. Most fail in this understanding. They fight battles that drain rather than develop them, conflicts that damage rather than strengthen them, competitions that diminish rather than enhance them, struggles that weaken rather than empower them, challenges that confuse rather than clarify their path, engagements that scatter rather than focus their force. The strategic master approaches battle selection differently. They understand that every conflict is a forge, every challenge a teacher, every struggle an opportunity for strategic development. They choose battles that enhance their core capabilities, expand their strategic options, strengthen their market. Position, deepen their understanding, broaden their influence, sharpen their competitive edge. But choosing the right battles requires deep wisdom, understanding which challenges serve your strategy, recognizing which conflicts advance your position, identifying which struggles strengthen your capabilities, selecting which competitions enhance your advantages, determining which battles align with your ultimate objectives, knowing which engagements multiply your power. Consider these criteria for battle selection: strategic value. Does this conflict advance your position? Growth potential. Will this challenge develop your capabilities? Resource impact. Can this engagement strengthen your assets? Alliance opportunities. Will this battle build valuable connections? Learning. Yield. Does this struggle teach crucial lessons? Position enhancement. Will this conflict improve your standing? The master strategist evaluates battles through multiple lenses. Immediate impact. What does this battle cost or contribute now? Future value. How does this conflict shape tomorrow's options? Strategic alignment. Does this engagement serve larger objectives? Resource development. How does this challenge build capacity? Position enhancement. Will this battle improve tactical advantage? Knowledge generation. What crucial learning does this conflict offer? Remember these principles of strategic battle selection. Not all opportunities are worth seizing. Not all challenges are worth accepting. Not all conflicts are worth engaging. Not all competitions are worth entering. Not all battles are worth fighting. Not all victories are worth winning. Your battles should build rather than deplete your resources, strengthen rather than weaken your use, position, clarify rather than confuse your strategy, enhance rather than diminish your capabilities, expand rather than contract your options, advance rather than delay your ultimate objectives. This requires the wisdom to decline battles that don't serve your strategy, withdraw from conflicts that drain your resources, avoid engagements that scatter your focus, pass on opportunities that dilute your power, redirect energy from non-strategic struggles, concentrate force on developmental challenges. In the end, it is not how many battles you fight, but how each battle builds you. Not how many conflicts you engage, but how each engagement positions you. Not how many struggles you undertake, but how each struggle transforms you. Remember, the oak grows stronger in the wind, but only if the wind doesn't uproot it. The sword becomes sharper through use, but only if the use doesn't shatter it. The warrior becomes more capable through battle, but only if the battles are chosen wisely. Choose your battles, not just for victory, but for development. Select your struggles not just for success, but for strategic growth. For in the art of war and in the game of life, the battles that build you become the foundation of all future victories. Chapter 14. Patience is aggression in disguise. The hunter who chases every movement in the grass catches nothing. The warrior who strikes at every opening creates his own defeat. The general who attacks at every opportunity exhausts his forces. Here lies a truth that transforms strategy. Patience is not passive, it is power-gathering force. Consider the crocodile. Does it thrash through the water chasing prey? Does it reveal its presence with constant movement? No. It waits, still as stone, gathering energy, allowing opportunity to come within striking distance. This patience is not weakness, it is aggression, perfected through strategic restraint. Most fail because they cannot distinguish between waiting and weakness, patience and passivity, restraint and retreat, stillness and stagnation, calculation and cowardice. Strategic pause and surrender, the strategic master understands. Patience is not the absence of action, it is the concentration of power. It is not the suspension of aggression, it is its refinement. It is not the delay of victory, it is its preparation. Like the drawn bow, stillness contains potential energy waiting to be released. This wisdom manifests in multiple forms. In combat, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. In business, allowing markets to ripen before expansion. In negotiation, letting pressure build before concessions. In innovation, developing fully before launching. In leadership, building strength. Before major initiatives. In competition, conserving energy, while others exhaust themselves. The art of strategic patience requires clear assessment of timing, deep understanding of cycles, precise reading of situations, careful measurement of force, accurate evaluation of readiness, perfect sense of moment. But remember these crucial distinctions. Patience is not procrastination. Waiting is not wandering. Restraint is not reluctance. Calculation is not hesitation. Timing is not timidity. Strategy is not stalling. The master strategist knows when to. Wait for position to improve. Allow situations to develop. Let opponents make mistakes. Give plans time to mature. Permit pressure to build. Allow advantages to accumulate. This requires the wisdom to understand. The right moment is more important than raw power. Timing matters more than technique. Position precedes action. Preparation determines performance. Pressure creates opportunity. Patience multiplies force. Consider how nature teaches this lesson. The earthquake builds pressure before release. The tide withdraws before its strongest surge. The storm gathers force before breaking. The seed waits for proper conditions to sprout. The predator waits for the perfect moment to strike. The river builds volume before breaching obstacles. Your task is to master the discipline of strategic waiting, the art of timing, the power of restraint, the wisdom of patience, the strength of stillness, the force of calculated action. Remember these principles. Every premature action weakens final impact. Every rushed movement reveals intention. Every impatient strike reduces effectiveness. Every hasty decision compromises strategy. Every forced opportunity diminishes results. Every anxious advance undermines position, for in the end, it is not how quickly you move, but how effectively you strike. Not how many actions you take, but how decisive each action becomes. Not how aggressive you appear, but how completely you achieve your objective. This is the paradox of strategic patience. The more willing you are to wait, the more decisive your actions become. The more you master restraint, the more powerful your movements grow. The more you perfect patience, the more unstoppable your advance becomes. Like the arrow held at full draw, like the wave gathering force, like the storm building strength, your patience is not passive. It is power accumulating. It is force concentrating. It is victory preparing to manifest. Chapter 15. Control the narrative. All warfare is based on deception, but the greatest deception is the story others believe about your power. Perception shapes reality. The narrative surrounding your position often matters more than the position itself. This is the subtle art that transforms circumstances into advantages, controlling how others interpret your actions. Consider the lighthouse. Does it fight the waves? Does it struggle against the storm? No. It stands, unwavering, and through its mere presence shapes how ships navigate the waters around it. Its power lies not in force, but in how it influences the decisions of others through their perception of its position. Most fail because they focus solely on building strength while neglecting how that strength is perceived. They display power. Without purpose, show capability. Without context, reveal position. Without strategy, demonstrate strength. Without story, execute actions. Without narrative, achieve results. Without meaning, the strategic master understands the story you tell, or better. Yet, the story you cause others to tell about you becomes as crucial as your actual capabilities. Like the general who appears weak when strong, strong when weak, they know that controlled perception creates strategic advantage. This wisdom operates on multiple levels: personal narrative, how your character is perceived; professional story, how your capabilities are understood; organizational tale, how your enterprise is viewed; strategic context, how your intentions are interpreted; competitive positioning, how your power is evaluated; market presence, how your value is assessed. But mastering narrative control requires deep understanding of audience perspective, careful management of information flow, strategic timing of revelations, subtle guidance of interpretation, consistent alignment of actions and story, patient building. Of credibility, consider these principles of narrative control. What is unseen is often more powerful than what is shown. What is implied can be stronger than what is stated. What is believed becomes more real than what is true. What is anticipated shapes how reality is perceived. What is expected influences how actions are interpreted. What is assumed creates the context for all observations. The master strategist knows how to shape expectations without obvious manipulation, guide perceptions without visible effort, influence them interpretations without direct control, create assumptions that serve strategy, build narratives that enhance position, maintain stories that multiply. Power. Remember these crucial elements. Consistency builds credibility. Subtlety enhances impact. Timing determines effectiveness. Context shapes, meaning perception, creates reality. Narrative drives response. Your task is to master the art of strategic ambiguity, the power of controlled revelation, the force of guided interpretation, the impact of managed expectations, the influence of shaped perceptions, the advantage of directed narrative. This requires understanding how to appear weak when strong, seem busy when preparing, look defeated when advancing, show confusion when certain, display openness when guarding, project simplicity when complex. For in the end, it is not just what you are, but what others believe you to be. Not just what you can do, but what others think you might do. Not just what you have achieved, but what others expect you will achieve. This is the paradox of narrative control. The more masterfully you guide perception, the less others realize they are being guided. The more skillfully you shape the story, the more others believe they discovered it themselves. The more perfectly you control the narrative, the more natural and inevitable it appears to all who witness it. Remember, the greatest power often lies not in the force you possess, but in how others perceive that force. Not in the position you hold, but in how that position is understood. Not in the actions you take, but in the story those actions tell. Chapter 16. Know when to retreat. The river that meets a mountain does not stop. It flows around. The tree that faces strong wind does not stand rigid. It bends to survive. This is the wisdom that preserves armies and empires. Sometimes the path to victory requires strategic retreat. Not all withdrawal is defeat. Not all retreat is surrender. In the highest form of warfare, retreat becomes advance. Consider the tide. Does it admit defeat when it pulls back from the shore? No. It is gathering force for its next advance. This is the principle that separates the master strategist from the novice. Understanding that strategic withdrawal can be the first step toward greater victory. Most fail because they mistake stubbornness for strength, confuse persistence with wisdom, equate retreat with failure, see flexibility as weakness, value pride over position, choose destruction over tactical withdrawal. The strategic master understands. Retreat is not about giving up. It is about choosing better ground. It is not surrender, it is repositioning. It is not weakness. It is strategic wisdom. Like the skilled boxer who steps back to create striking distance, they know that withdrawal can be a weapon. This wisdom manifests in many forms. Tactical, retreat, withdrawing to better fighting ground, strategic withdrawal, repositioning for future advantage, resource conservation, preserving strength for crucial battles, position improvement, moving to more defensible ground force preservation, protecting capabilities for future use, momentum building, creating space for renewed advance. But mastering strategic retreat requires clear assessment of situation, accurate evaluation of timing, precise calculation of costs, strategic selection of new ground, disciplined execution of withdrawal, maintenance of organizational cohesion. Consider these principles of strategic withdrawal. Retreat before you must withdraw while you still have strength. Choose your point of retreat. Control the timing of withdrawal. Maintain order during movement. Prepare your next position. The master strategist knows when to retreat, when position becomes untenable, when resources are better used elsewhere, when better opportunities emerge, when current strategy proves ineffective, when circumstances fundamentally change, when preservation serves greater victory. This requires the wisdom to recognize the difference between temporary and permanent setback, the distinction between tactical and strategic withdrawal, the separation of pride from purpose, the balance of cost and benefit, the relationship between retreat and advance, the connection between preservation and power. Remember these crucial elements. Timing determines effectiveness. Order preserves capability, direction shapes opportunity, distance creates advantage, position enables power. Preservation ensures future. Your task is to master the art of strategic withdrawal, the skill of organized retreat, the wisdom of tactical flexibility, the power of strategic repositioning, the advantage of planned withdrawal, the strength of preserved force. This requires understanding how to retreat without rooting, withdraw without weakening, step back without surrendering, yield without yielding control, move back while moving forward, lose ground while gaining advantage, for in the end, it is not about never retreating, it is about retreating strategically, not about never yielding, but about yielding to advance, not about never withdrawing, but about withdrawing to win. This is the paradox of strategic retreat. The more willing you are to withdraw when necessary, the more unshakable your overall position becomes. The more flexible you are in tactical retreat, the more formidable you become in strategic advance. The more skilled you become at stepping back, the more powerfully you can move forward. Remember, the bamboo that bends in the storm outsurvives the oak that stands rigid. The water that flows around obstacles reaches its destination, while the stone that refuses to move is worn away. Your strength lies not in never retreating, but in making every retreat serve your ultimate advance. Chapter 17, Victory is a Process. The shallow thinker sees victory as an event, a single moment of triumph, a peak to be reached, a line to be crossed. But the master strategist understands a deeper truth. Victory is not an event, it is a process. It is not a destination, it is a journey. It is not a moment, it is a system of continuous advancement. Consider the growth of a tree. Can you point to the moment it becomes great? No. Its victory over time is continuous, each day of sunshine. Converted to strength, each storm survived, adding resilience, each season of growth building power. This is the nature of true victory. It is not won in a moment, but built through persistent strategic process. Most fail because they chase singular victories rather than building systems of success. Focus on outcomes while neglecting processes. Seek moments of triumph instead of patterns of excellence. Celebrate peaks while ignoring foundations. Prize results above methods. Value destination over direction. The strategic master understands victory is not about winning once, it is about establishing systems that win consistently. It is not about reaching a point, it is about creating momentum. It is not about achieving a goal, it is about building a machine that achieves continuously. This wisdom manifests in multiple dimensions. Strategic process, building systems that generate advantages, tactical process, creating patterns that produce results, operational process, developing methods that ensure consistency, learning process, establishing cycles of continuous improvement, growth process, installing mechanisms of constant advancement, evolution process, implementing systems of adaptive development, but mastering the process of victory requires deep understanding of systemic thinking, clear grasp of cause and effect, strong appreciation of momentum, precise knowledge of feedback loops, thorough comprehension of compound effects, complete awareness of strategic ecology. Consider these elements of victorious process. Every small win builds momentum. Every setback contains learning. Every advance creates opportunity. Every cycle increases capability. Every iteration improves method. Every process shapes position. The master strategist focuses on building systems rather than seeking outcomes, creating processes rather than chasing results, establishing patterns rather than pursuing events, developing methods rather than demanding victories, installing habits rather than forcing achievements, cultivating momentum rather than celebrating moments. Remember these crucial principles. Systems outlast. Situations, processes, outperform events. Methods outweigh moments, patterns override instances, habits overcome hurdles. Systems surpass scenarios. Your task is to master the art of systematic thinking, the science of process design, the craft of method development, the skill of pattern recognition, the power of habit formation, the force of momentum building. This requires understanding how to convert events into processes, transform actions into systems, translate goals into methods, turn victories into patterns, shape moments into momentum, build instances into institutions. For in the end, it is not about winning once. It is about creating systems that win repeatedly. Not about achieving a goal, but about building machines that achieve continuously. Not about reaching a destination, but about establishing momentum that advances perpetually. This is the paradox of processual victory. The more you focus on the process, the more naturally results flow. The more you invest in systems, the more effortlessly achievements come. The more you perfect your methods, the more inevitably success follows. Remember, the greatest victory is not the battle won today, but the system built that wins battles tomorrow. Not the peak reached now, but the process created that reaches new peaks continuously. Not the moment of triumph, but the momentum that makes triumph inevitable. Chapter 18. Become the terrain others must cross, the highest achievement in strategic. Positioning is not to occupy advantageous ground, but to become the ground itself. Not to control a critical position, but to be the position that others must navigate. Not to hold power, but to be the source from which power flows. This is the ultimate evolution of strategic mastery. Consider the mountain. Does it struggle to maintain its position? Does it fight to assert its influence? No. It simply is, and by its very existence, it shapes everything around it. Weather patterns conform to its presence. Rivers follow its contours. Civilizations build according to its parameters. This is power beyond position. This is becoming the terrain itself. Most fail because they think only of occupying positions rather than becoming position, controlling resources rather than becoming resource, managing power rather than embodying power, directing flow rather than becoming flow, holding ground rather than being ground-wielding influence rather than emanating influence. The strategic master understands. The highest form of positioning is to become so integral to your domain that others must orient themselves around you. Like gravity, your influence should operate not through force, but through the fundamental nature of how things must move in your presence. This mastery manifests in multiple forms. Market presence, becoming the standard others must meet knowledge. Domain, becoming the authority others must reference strategic space. Becoming the position others must consider. Competitive arena, becoming the force others must account for. Innovation landscape, becoming the platform others must build upon. Leadership territory, becoming the example others must follow, but achieving this status requires deep understanding of fundamental principles, clear grasp of systemic relationships, strong foundation of genuine value, precise positioning at critical junctures, thorough integration into essential processes, complete alignment with natural forces. Consider these attributes of terrain-level positioning: inevitability rather than force, attraction rather than promotion, integration rather than insertion, influence rather than control, presence rather than pressure, being rather than doing. The master strategist knows how to shape environments without visible effort, guide movements without direct contact, influence decisions without explicit direction, create paths that others naturally follow, build positions that become reference points, establish presence that defines context. Remember these crucial elements: substance precedes influence, position precedes power, being precedes doing, nature precedes, force presence precedes pressure, integration precedes impact. Your task is to master the art of essential positioning, the science of systemic integration, the craft of natural influence, the skill of gravitational presence, the power of fundamental being, the force of contextual definition. This requires understanding how to convert position into presence, transform, control into influence, translate power into gravity, turn advantage into essence, shape force into nature, build authority into terrain. For in the end, it is not about what you can do, it is about what you become. Not about what you control, but about how you shape the environment. Not about what you achieve, but about how you transform the context itself. This is the ultimate paradox of strategic positioning. The less you struggle to maintain position, the more unshakable your position becomes. The less you fight to exert influence, the more profound your influence grows. The less you try to control, the more naturally others align with your presence. Remember, the ocean doesn't fight to maintain its power. Its very nature makes it powerful. The mountain doesn't struggle to maintain its influence. Its very presence shapes all that surrounds it. Your highest strategic achievement is not to win every battle, but to become the terrain upon which all battles must be fought.